here, and it's almost over as we now have had a great few days in Indianapolis. Our own Brian Broaddus, boots on the ground, was there firsthand to soak it all in. And boy, there was always a lot of Cowboys news. You knew it was going to happen. They did not disappoint. It's another edition of Love of the Star, brought to you by the On-Time Experts. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout, Brian Broaddus, fresh off the plane as he is now back home from the combine in Indy. Brian, how the heck was it, man? You look like you're absolutely having a ball.
Yeah, you know what? I had not been to the combine in like 5 years. And so I was kind of expecting, I'm going to be honest, I didn't know what to expect. A lot of the guys that I kind of grew up with, it was really nice to catch up with John Snyder. But just the ability to, like, guys that I used to hang out with all the time at the combine, kind of gone off into maybe hanging out at the lake more now. Maybe not doing football stuff as much as they used to. But yeah, it was really exciting, and and thanks to the Cowboys for allowing us to talk to some, to talk to Shoddy and to Christian Parker and Lunda Wells. It made for it. Charles Robinson we got to run into yesterday, and he came on air. So it was really, really cool in that regard. I know there was a lot of content. There was some talk about Jerry Jones. Was he really going to talk on the bus or not? He did not last year, I believe. So here we are back in the rotation. Jerry, talking about things about how disappointed he is. He hasn't delivered a championship in all these years. And there are things you could see that Jerry, being older, reflecting on a lot of things that, maybe, some things that he's in his career a little bit disappointed about. But yeah, it was nice to really to catch up, to be around the players, to see the actual workouts themselves. I mean, we had some guys that were absolutely knocking it dead, and tip of the cap to the young guys that went out there and put their hand on the line and went out there and worked out. And that's not forgotten by scouts sitting in those suites, and coaches and, general managers and people like that who, you come to Indy with the hope that you get to visit with these kids, you get some medical information, but you also get to see them run 40s, backpedal, catch passes, do all these things. And those kids did not disappoint, the ones that were able to do workouts the last couple of days. And you mentioned we've got a couple of groups left here. I believe we've got who we got left? The wide receivers, quarterbacks, and running backs. Offensive line, I think, is on Sunday. So yeah, we've got a lot. Is that right? Did I get that right? Was Sunday the last day for offensive line? Yeah. So there's a lot. They've changed the schedule up. This thing used to go to Monday.
Yeah, and I felt like DBs were always the last group that would go, and now the corners and safeties go.
Yeah, so it's really cool that I'm glad that people get to see this on TV. I can't believe when I was sitting in the RCA Dome way back in 1992, the Hoosier Dome, that people would ever really want to watch this. I'm like, and this, we're all sitting around here kind of watching these guys backpedal and all. It's cool. It's cool. All that's cool. It's, it's neat to see all that. And now it's kind of this made for TV event. Yeah. So, hats off to the NFL Network and to all the people involved that bring us the combine through televised ways.
Well, we'll get back to some of the workouts and the players here. I want to get the meat off the bone at the start because you and I can end up just going off for an hour talking about these players. And we got to take care of the headline news, and that would be George Pickens getting the tag.
Yeah.
But it's not the exclusive tag. So what this is, for those of you that don't know, teams now can still negotiate with George Pickens. So it's a $27.3 million franchise tag the Cowboys put on him. Both sides have until July 15th to come to a long-term contract extension agreement. And Jerry's confident that that's going to happen. He said yesterday on the bus, he talked to George. George is super pumped. They expressed how much they want him to be in Dallas. And George seems, excited about his future here. And he said he wants to be in Dallas. So now this is, I kind of like what the Cowboys are doing here, because you have other teams now. You can kind of really gauge the market. If somebody else really wants George Pickens, they can call David Mulugheta and negotiate a contract. And if the Cowboys want to go ahead and say, all right, we'll do that deal that you've just negotiated, they can do that. Or they can work out a trade agreement, send Pickens to said team. But I'm interested in what you've heard about this. I am, just from the outside looking in. Everything we keep hearing is how George is such a unique individual. I wouldn't be shocked if George Pickens is like, I'm totally cool making $27+ million and playing a year on this tag and betting on myself.
Yeah, and this is where the rubber meets the road, and you have a very aggressive agent in David Mulugheta. And David Mulugheta, in talking to people at the various steakhouses I was able to go to, David Mulugheta is not interested in his guy playing on the tag. Now, where this is going to have to come down to is, again, Jerry meeting with George. This could sometimes work, sometimes it can't. But, hold your breath on that. But listen, Jerry probably wanted to let George know how he felt. He probably told him, listen, I don't want this to end up like it did with Micah Parsons. I'd like to work with your guy if we can. I just wish you the best and no hard feelings kind of a thing. But what needs to happen here is that George Pickens needs to tell David Mulugheta, go make a deal. Go make a deal. And if we can't get a deal, I'm comfortable playing on making $23 million or $24 million more than I made last year. If I have to go play, I'm going to play. I think there is a certain amount of loyalty that maybe George Pickens has in his body, that the fact that the Cowboys did make a trade for him, they kind of believed in him. They paired him with a quarterback that's one of the top ones in the league. His career really, once again, from we saw in college what an outstanding player he was. The Steelers, we saw flashes. Here, he became a legitimate superstar. So to me, this is where George Pickens needs to remind David Mulugheta, you work for me. I don't work for you. And if that happens, David Mulugheta carries a big stick. You could talk to Bobby Belt, who did a great job of, running the streets, meeting with agents, meeting with others. If you want to, being a part of the group that kissed the David Mulugheta ring, like we were at the Godfather situation, that kind of thing.
It's a smart group to be in, because you're right. He's one of the big players.
He is one of the huge players. But again, George Pickens needs to remind David Mulugheta, you work for me. And if I want to play and we can't get something done now, but there's some people that believe, and again, we had on Charles Robinson from Yahoo, that he feels like that if there was another year of George Pickens doing what he did in 2025, you would have some teams lined up for him.
Yeah, and I think Charles is spot on.
I talked to several teams at the combine, that my gang of seven and some others, that where they were telling me, listen, if you get less than a 1 for George Pickens, you should not trade George Pickens. They were adamant about that. They were asking me, well, what about I was like, George is just late. George is a late guy. George is not a bad teammate or anything like that. George is just late, and there's people that will fight. There will people that will fight that like, well, he doesn't really care. He doesn't want to play by the rules. He doesn't. Why would you pay him? I mean, we had Brad Sham on yesterday, voice of the Cowboys on 105.3 The Fan. And Brad took a very strong stance towards this. Is there things that we're not hearing about? Well, Brad, we're hearing about he's late for this, but late for that. And Brad was adamant about that. He was like, well, maybe there's some things that he needs to do, to get better, and I'm like, okay, that's fair. That's fair. You will tolerate a lot of things if you have a star player. You will tolerate. I've always said this: if I worked in that organization, I would go in my car and pick up George Pickens for work every day. I would. I would drop him off at home at night when he's done. But I do it every day just to make sure that, that's the only problem. And what's really noticeable is every teammate that's been asked about George Pickens has told the front office, or in a way kind of made it, maybe it's a little bit of a fun, but I think there's some seriousness in this. Whether it's Williams or Dak or anybody else who's been asked, they're kind of look at the front office and like, sign George Pickens. Sign George Pickens. And so they're making a plea. I don't think that these players want to go through what they went through last year with Micah Parsons. I really don't. I think they're actually making a plea. Please don't move on from this guy. This guy can help us win. So I think it says a lot about his teammates coming to bat for him. I don't know if we had as many. Maybe we did. You're a good historian for this. Maybe we had a lot of people saying, get Mike Parsons done, get Micah Parsons done. My memory sometimes isn't very good, but I just know that to a man, we've heard more get George Pickens done than we've had get Micah Parsons done. And I don't mean to take a shot at Micah Parsons, but there just seems to be a little bit different level of love for the player than what we had. So this will be one to follow, and hopefully when you and I get to Oxnard in July, that this thing is buttoned up and ready to go. But if it gets, they need to work hard, because if it's not going to work and George isn't going to sign, and then they need to work on the trade before the draft to try and get compensation before. If they don't feel like they're going to get a long-term, if they don't feel good about it, then they need to try and get something for this particular draft if they could. Because you don't want it to be a situation where you're having to kind of go through this all again.
Couldn't agree more. I think you're so right in terms of it's nothing, it's not apples to apples, nothing against Micah, but you didn't have the groundswell of support. Dak, I don't know publicly was ever as adamant, like, I'll get involved. He wasn't. Dak never took any shots of Micah, but I thought sometimes his silence said all you needed to know, with him not being as public about, no, we need to keep George. Because we know, and it's come out, there was a bit of a split locker room there. Some guys didn't really get along with Micah. Some guys didn't like him. Does he help him win on the field? Yeah, I don't think anybody ever doubted that. But just from a locker room perspective, that's the difference. Micah did rub some guys the wrong way. George has been beloved. I haven't heard anything negative about him in terms of players not liking him. He and Shotty was talking about it yesterday. He works the room. He tries to build relationships with guys. Mike is a little bit more introverted, wants to keep to himself. That type of thing. So everybody's different, and locker room dynamics are very challenging at times. But this situation, there's no question. You don't have a single person that's been asked about it say anything but like, no, I want George Pickens here. Whereas last year it was either, I'm not going to say anything because I don't really want Micah here, or you did have, Diggs and a couple of others that were outspoken about it. But I think George Pickens is really beloved within that organization right now.
I think that a big tell for me was, and you mentioned the players, that's a huge tell. But when you had Clayton Adams come on 105.3 The Fan and was directly asked about George Pickens, and he kind of laughed and said, yeah, I'm trying to figure out George too. And he means that, I think, in a nice way. I don't think he's like, man, George is a bad guy. But when he said, I'm a guy that loves football and George Pickens loves football like I do, that tells me a lot right there. I'll take the headache for a guy that I know on Sundays and sometimes on Mondays and Thursdays will go out there and play games and play at a really high level. Yes, George Pickens is not the most ideal route runner. Mark Schlereth, who we've had on a bunch on 105.3 The Fan, he calls those routes, what is it? I love football routes, love of the game routes. George is not a great route runner, but how do they advance this offense? They advance it by figuring things out to try and help George Pickens. Maybe playing George on the move. Maybe they do things to make George feel a little bit more comfortable playing in certain spots, as opposed to just being somewhat stationary. And I think that's, if you want to say, how do they advance this offense? It's how do you advance this offense with George Pickens? And CeeDee Lamb is always going to be a guy that's comfortable moving and doing and whatever he has to. I don't know if George Pickens is always that guy, but I do know when George Pickens plays, you watch the tape, you see defensive coordinators try and take him out of the game. They worry about George Pickens. They really, really do.
Yeah, there was no question late in the season, and it's not in any disrespect to CeeDee Lamb at all, but you could tell the focus was George Pickens for defensive coordinators. It was we're not allowing George Pickens to beat us on this slant that he's killing everybody on third down. Like it was, we need to take away what he is doing really well right now, and then we'll worry about CD. And you've been on about getting George on the move, and you did see that when CD was out. But how do you incorporate that when they're both on the field? And Shadi alluded to that too as well when he was on with Sean and RJ in the morning show. So, hey, kudos to you, man. You've been on that from the beginning, without a doubt. You are listening to the Love of the Star podcast. Love of the Star is an Odyssey podcast. You can find it on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, Cowboys fans, the offseason is heating up. Free agency frenzy, draft boards on fire. We hope Jerry and the team are making the right moves to get ready for the season. Now it's your time to prepare before summer temps come on a full blitz. Schedule a first-time $59 AC tune-up and professional cleaning with the On Time Experts, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And right now, the On Time Experts, the proud official partner of your Cowboys, is offering first-time customers a complete AC tune-up and cleaning for just $59, and they're the only company that actually removes all the harmful buildup, not just a quick one-over, in about 30 minutes. They take everything apart. They're going to clean it for you, and boom, it's going to be amazing. So go to the ontimeexperts.com, schedule your $59 tune-up today. That's the ontimeexperts.com. All right, Brian, I do want to dive into some of these players, but the last word of business is just this Brandon Aubrey situation. Mm-hmm. Jerry did talk about that on the bus as well when it came to Aubrey. And, he alluded to the fact that, they wanted to make him the highest paid kicker. Some of those numbers came out and that were reported. And I just want to say Calvin Watkins is the freaking man. And I love Calvin. And I reached out to Calvin and was like, dude, I can't feel somewhat responsible because we, immediately went and shared his report. And obviously that gets clipped and shared. Now, Calvin took full responsibility and was like, dude, it's my fault. I messed up. There was miscommunication on the numbers on my side when he said the $7.5 million offer. And you immediately, were able to help clean this up, which is why the gold phone and the godfather that is Brian Broaddus. That's why you tune into 105.3 The Fan, The Stack, Doing All Right, Crown Global Media, and of course, Love of the Star here. But you got kind of the nuts and bolts of what really went down here between Brandon Aubrey and the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think it was really unfortunate for Calvin. And I'd been, and I'd had some words with Calvin at the combine. I apologized. I said, listen, man, I was not trying to undercut you at all. I just, my guys asked me, what this deal was. And I had the ability to make a couple of calls and we were able to kind of to iron it out. Calvin just misheard. That's the only problem. Calvin misheard and this is the thing that's a little bit, and if I could just pull the curtain back, this is a dangerous game we play in our world. And I don't mean dangerous like James Bond spy dangerous or espionage or any of this stuff. The dangerous game is when you choose to try and get information that maybe you hear it wrong, or maybe the person you get it from lied to you. Those are the things that and then you realize, like, listen, I have to be careful here because, in this day and age, we tend to try to be first with everything. We're trying to be first. I mean, I probably would have put something out, with my Twitter account being hacked the way it is. I have all these followers, and I'm not saying it in a bragging way. I would have put out there, well, this is what I heard, and so I have the platform where, whether it's 105.3 The Fan or Crown Global Media, but Calvin was put in a difficult spot because he might have been lied to. And that's something that you have to be very, very careful of. That, is somebody trying to deceive me? Is somebody trying to take me off the track? I think this was just an honest mistake. And I apologized to Calvin too, and he says, "Man, I'm not mad at you or anything." He goes, "I made the mistake." And so, yeah, it's a very difficult game. So if you want to go after us, me or a Calvin or you, Zach, or anybody that reports, just be mindful that the guy on the other side or the gal on the other side might not have been truthful, might not
Yeah.
have said, or that you in a text message, maybe you got the wrong figures or something. But clearly with Brandon Aubrey, the Cowboys got close to $7 million, slightly above, I believe, the 6.5 range that the current kicker makes. So they're trying to kind of, fit it that way. $10 million is the actual number that they countered with.
Woo.
So that's something. Trust me, that got the Cowboys' attention. Like, okay, hey,
it got the fans' attention. I think Brandon Aubrey was loved, and all of a sudden now it's like, what the hell? The kicker wants $10 million.
There was a lot of debate. There was a lot of debate on airwaves, not only ours about, we're a very, I like to believe that our show is very much from about team building and would you do $10 million? And do you think he's legitimately worth that? Is he a weapon? Well, he's a weapon. Is he better than a $7 million linebacker that didn't play very well for you? I mean, you have to justify or not justify, but you have to be able to kind of walk yourself through, well, regardless of positions, what's the importance of Brendan Aubrey? You'd have to say very high when you start to talk about Dak Prescott would be probably number one, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Williams, Quinnen Williams. You start naming the guys. Brandon Aubrey's in the top 10,
Sure.
Brandon Aubrey is in the top 10 of the most important things you need to have for your team. So, I could see where people are like, screw you, you're not worth $10 million. Well, he's worth $10 million too. He's just as good as a nickel corner or a linebacker when he's helping you win games. And especially as many games as Dallas plays where it comes down to having to have points. And, and listen, you're right. People will say, well, broad is people making 50-yard field goals all around the league now. Yeah, they are. You're going to line people up for 65-yard field goals with the game on the line? You're going to have what's you look at Brandon Aubrey's numbers and he's like, well, 83%, 84%, whatever. The majority of his missed kicks were from like 55 and plus. Thank
you. People are putting out these charts. I'm like, it's so moronic.
But look at the number. Look at the number. Yeah, look at the number of 60-yard field goals he's made. So
and look at the attempts.
Yeah, that's
right. Like that's going to get skewed in terms of you got the guys at the top are kicking. They're 5 for 5, right?
Yeah.
You look at the percentage. He had 42 field goal attempts. The Cowboys had the second most field goal attempts per game of any team in the league. That's a heavy reliance on your kicker.
Let me ask you a question. And we could close it up on this because I know you want to get to your players. Did they address it on the morning show about, because I wasn't with them I had to do something with Crown. Did they ask him about crutch, using him as a crutch?
Yes, Bobby did. Yeah.
Bobby asked him about using him as a crutch. Can you please tell me what his response to that was? Or do you have it off the top of your head? He
was talking about his buddy, and I always forget his name, but that helps him with the game management decisions. Is always like
Fitter.
Something like that. Yeah. And I apologize. I need to know that and have that ready for next time. But he said basically he's always telling him to go for it. But, it's all about the down and distance. He's looking at game situations. And yes, I mean, he said that maybe he could do a better job of that going forward. But it is something about, that it's always nice to have in your back pocket. Like I've got this guy that's available to get me points once we get basically across midfield. And I mean, the way that I've kind of looked at this, Brian, is wins. Like, in baseball, we've got wins above replacement. I don't know that we've really got a stat that can tell that in football. Maybe I'm wrong and somebody smarter can let me know that in the comments. But how many wins does Brandon Aubrey get you a year? Like, I think when Dak Prescott's in and out of the lineup, like that's probably going to skew your win-loss record, 4 to 6 games with him in or out, maybe more. without Brandon Aubrey, I can tell you, you're probably 2 wins less last year. You're not beating the Giants. You're not in position to even tie against Green Bay. Like the clutch factor that he has. What's the clutch field goal he's missed in his career? When he's been trotted out there, and a lot of them are long kicks, 50 plus, before to send it to overtime, to win the game, before the half. He bangs those through. So Washington's an issue for him. He's 1 for 5. But he missed 6 field goals last year, and all of them are 50 plus. Some of them are 68 yarders. So to me, it's like, spare me with your crappy chart about the 86%. He's 20th in the league. Like, that means nothing to me, because his attempts are going to be more or about more than anybody else in football. The guy is automatic from extra point range, which your previous kicker, Brett Maher, got the yips and couldn't even kick an extra point. So I understand, like, it can change so quickly with a kicker. I'm not paying a guy $10 million, but I do disagree with Bobby. Like, these guys are just so replaceable.
Yeah.
You don't understand the importance of a kicker until you don't have one.
Oh no, trust me. I've that's completely understandable. I'll say this. If Dallas's defense was better, Brandon Aubrey would be even more valuable to you, because all of a sudden you're getting stops, you're getting the ball back, you're driving, and then all of a sudden, if Dallas would have just got stops last year, that offense would have scored. How many games do you think Dallas would have won if they just would have got some stops here and there? And all of a sudden they get a stop, they drive the ball, Brandon Aubrey makes a 55-yard field goal, points. I mean, there's no telling how many games, if Dallas's defense was just competent to get 2 or 3 extra. Think about 2 or 3 extra stops. That could be 9
Probably
points,
2 or 3 extra wins.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And you're in the playoffs. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Brandon Aubrey on a bad football team is probably a bad investment, or a bad defensive team. Brandon Aubrey on a team that's got a really good offense and a middle-of-the-pack defense, getting 2 or 3 extra stops a game might be worth 9 more points to you.
Sure.
So, his value is diminished when it's a bad defensive team. His value is even better when you've got a team, and I'm not talking about a top 5 defense. I'm talking about just a middle-of-the-road defense.
Yeah.
Because you get 2 or 3 extra stops a game, that's potential points right there with him kicking the ball. So I understand why people don't want to pay him $10 million, but I would, if they tender him the 5.5, that's
sure.
Probably, we'll see. If I'll tell you what, if I'm one of those teams that doesn't have a kicker, $5.5 million seems pretty good for me to go pay a guy that's one of the best in the league, or 5.8, whatever. Yeah. So when Dallas, you might be in a mode here. We might be in a mode here where you'll see Brandon Aubrey go kicking for somebody else. Yeah. You might be in that mode, and God help us if the first time that that Zerline's out there and that ball starts all the way outside, it starts in the middle and ends up in the overall by the cone, the pylon over there from getting, being no good. Just don't have one of these guys. Like, listen, this is going to sound really hyperbolic. Is I say that right? Did I say it
really hyperbolic.
Really hyperbolic. Really hyperbolic. What were you like last year when you didn't have a nickel corner with Jordan Lewis?
It was bad. You didn't have a nickel corner. Nobody could play the nickel for you.
Get ready for this kicker if that's the case.
Okay.
Get ready. Get ready. Yeah. You're like, sure, Jordan Lewis. A lot of money for Jordan Lewis. A lot of money for Jordan Lewis to leave. At $10 million, a lot of money for Jordan. Good riddance, Jordan Lewis. Jeez, you didn't have a guy who played nickel all year last year.
No.
You'd have killed to have Jordan Lewis playing nickel for you last year after what you went through. Brandon Aubrey could be the same damn thing. Be careful what you're wishing for out there, folks.
Absolutely. Amen, Brian. Amen. And I wonder what that number comes into, but I want Brandon Aubrey on this team. I don't think either of us are saying we'd go to 10, but I think both of us are comfortable with 8.
I would make it if it meant 7. I'd sure surf in those waters if that was me.
All right, you are listening to the Love of the Star podcast. The Love of the Star is an Odyssey podcast. You can get it on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcast. Remember, we are, of course, brought to you by the On-Time Experts. And here's the truth. Dirt, dust, and debris are the number one killers of air conditioners. They clog, they choke airflow, they strain your system, they lead to costly breakdowns. And On-Time Experts is the only company that actually removes all that harmful buildup, not just a quick once-over, in and out in about 30 minutes. They take everything apart. They're going to clean it. Taking up to 2 hours. It's amazing. Go ahead. Schedule your $59 tune-up today. Go to the ontimeexperts.com. That's the On-Time Experts, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys and Love of the Star. Let's get to the Dean Julia mailbag because a lot of these questions are going to be player-related. Ooh, I got the finger, Brian. What's up?
Yeah. I want to ask you a question.
Ooh, bring it to me.
Sound like your microphone's not plugged in the right way again.
Oh, no. Are you serious?
Yeah, I could no. Don't get upset. I could hear you fine.
Is
It's
it
just
okay?
maybe it sounds like it's running through your computer, but that just might be me doing a little
No, you know what? I mean, I updated it earlier, but it could have changed.
You're doing fine. Go to the Dean Julia mailbag. Please go there. Please go there.
You were right. You were right.
Aha!
Look at you. Look at you.
Aha! Just this is the great thing about doing stuff like we've learned this when you and I were doing Zoom.
Yep.
You could do crazy radio podcasts and stuff.
You're
You
right.
just fix things on the fly. It's like running a
Boom.
marathon.
It's easy.
Your toenail gets ripped off. You're managing problems. It's all cool. Blood poured out of your foot. It's okay. You just got to keep running. Keep
No,
running.
thank you. I needed that
Dean
correction.
Julia mailbag. Go for it.
Let's
What do you
do
got
it.
for us today? Yeah,
Let's do
what
it.
you got for us
Okay.
today?
It was a great combine for for a lot of guys. All right.
Congratulations for your Chris Johnson running so well. That's good.
I mean,
Good.
honestly,
Good on you, and good on Rodriguez participating well.
J-Rod
good on that
crushed
one.
it. Malachi Lawrence had himself a hell of a workout. He was
you go.
fantastic.
Sure did.
He did. Chris Johnson, though, that 4.4. I mean, I didn't think he was going to run that well.
You know what? There was talk about him being a 4.55 guy, 4.5, and I was like, listen, the playing ability. I think you've got the player right. I had questions. I had questions what he could really, really run, and he fought the ball a little bit in some of the drills and all. But you know what? Answered a lot of questions for me. I was worried about the speed. Again, tip of the cap to you for having him right. You had him. You talked about him. You said, hey, this guy's going to run better. He's going to play better. He's going to, I tip of the cap to you. He will be one of the top quarterbacks in this considered in this draft after that workout.
Yeah, he was really good. I mean, there were several guys. I mean, Dylan Thieneman, my gosh, him and Sonny Styles' brother Lorenzo Styles Jr. I mean, those guys, freak athletes. Are you kidding me? That Styles family, my gosh, if you can get a Styles on your football team, you're like,
scouted his dad. His dad was a good player too.
Was his dad as physically gifted as the sons are?
The dad was a good player, but mom had something to do with these.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll give credit to mom on that one. I mean, dad played in the league, so obviously good genes there, but mom might have given him a little bit of speed. But Gatlin Garrett, he's immediately going to my guy. And Brian, I'm not going to go ahead. I mean, my chest is puffing. It is when it comes to Jacob Rodriguez, but you can vouch for me that I've been president of the Jacob Rodriguez.
You have listen. We start this process in November, and we work through, and I mean, I know on over here at Crown, we've talked about Stooks. We've talked about, we try and knock out these players and give you the ability and what we think about the players and this guy might be a safety. Well, yeah, you watch him play. He's kind of a hybrid. He plays the nickel. I'm talking about Stooks from Arizona.
Well, you were spot on about him. I mean, he's had
it's just about trying to identify the players.
Yeah.
And I think to me where you've done a good job with this, and I'm not trying to, do anything crazy here, but you said, hey, listen, this guy does move. He does run well. I'm talking about Rodriguez.
Sure.
He does play downhill. He does play fast. He is quick. Things you see in the drills, you're like, you took the film work and said, this is what this guy could do. And then now we put him in t-shirts and shorts and watch him run around. it's like, oh, okay, now I see it. You know, the whole thing with the Sonny Styles or Thieneman or anything like that. You can watch tape and tell if a guy is going to work out well or not. I mean, every one of the defensive backs that ran, every one of them ran under 4.6.
Yeah.
Every one of them. We've seen some massive times in the past where we've gone, whoa, some 4.7s and stuff, and you're like, whoa, that kind of thing. But, you know, I will say this again, once you watch these guys on tape, and I think the tape is the most important thing you can do. I really, how does a guy play? Listen, if you want to tell me that Reuben Bain, Miami's edge rusher, is a short arm guy, I'll draft him at 12. Because what Reuben Bain has figured out is how to break offensive linemen down. He's figured out, okay, if I'm a short arm guy, how do I find ways to not let a tackle get his hands on me? You know? That's what this,
and he does a tremendous job of it.
He does a tremendous job of this. You know, you watch the kid Lewis from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You know, he's really not a linebacker. He's a 6 foot, 224-pound guy. But you watch him run. Every one of those, you watch him on tape, he makes plays. He can cover. He blitzes. He plays in the slot. You watch these things, you're like going, well, wow, okay, well, you know, well, he's 6 foot. You can't really. Well, yeah, move him over to safety. Move him into that hybrid role and all that. Find ways to use these guys to their strengths. So when these guys work out really, really, really well, it's not surprising. It's not. I mean, I circle back again to Thieneman. He is a really good player on tape.
Yeah.
You know, now, I mean, with the workout, is he potentially a first-round guy? Every mock draft I've seen seems like at 18, Minnesota's taking a safety.
Sure.
Well, here we go. You know, it used to be McNeil Warren, or, you know, there was always a safety going to me. It's just not surprising when you really study these players that like, you just knock them up 2-3 rounds. No, man. There are guys, that Missouri corner that ran really, really well.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him on
Ryan
tape.
Jr. Yeah. I haven't watched him either yet.
I've watched him on tape.
Florida guy that's like 6'3" more. I mean, he ran a great time for his size.
And you watch him play, you know,
he runs.
He runs. You watch these guys play a little bit. I'll give you another one too that I was you mentioned about Moore being that guy. I'll tell you what, I thought Hood had a pretty good day working out.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people talking about him. Rivers, Ponds. You know, we got measurements on these guys. I mentioned Stooks from Arizona as a very positive. Wheatley from Penn State. Man, those are all those safety dudes.
Yeah.
All those safety dudes. Hunter from Texas Tech at defensive tackle. What he was able to do. So yeah, this was a good day. We talked about Mason Thomas from Oklahoma, how he looked.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of encouraging things in this from what we've seen the first couple of days of workouts from the combines. Some kids tremendously helped themselves. I'm sure they helped themselves with some interviews. Surely the medical stuff will come back good. And then this will be a fun draft. I think some guys missed some opportunities, though. Some guys didn't work out, you know?
Yeah.
And now
the Jermon McCoy thing, I would have loved to have seen him out there.
I'd love to
and
have
I
seen
understand it, you know, some of these kids, but this is just such a great, man. So I was surprised. I was surprised that Delane won.
I just can't. Now the pressure that these kids face. When you look at guys like Reese and Bain and Bailey and Howell and McDonald and Hill, those guys, Galladay, and those guys can now tell these scouts that come through their school on pro day, I'll just stand on my combine times.
Sure.
And what does the scout say? Thank you very much, man. Congratulations on a really nice college career. Thank you for working out at the combine means something. But now you've got some guys. You've got some guys like McCoy, Delane, people like that are now put themselves into that March 12th, March 15th, March 18th workout is going to mean a lot.
Right.
And you've now eliminated one chance that you had. You could have worked out at the combine and put this all to bed, but you chose not to. And now you've kind of made it a one-shot deal. Instead of having two shots at this thing,
Yes.
say if you have a poor combine, you could turn around in your pro day and do a much better job. And like everybody's like, oh, cool. Okay. Well, we got him running at 4.5. We got him at 4.55. And now at the pro day, he's going to run, he runs his 4.48.
Especially some of those Ohio State kids, because don't they have like a downhill?
The downhill track. I can say I was super, super happy with the kids that did put their hand on the line and did work out for everybody the last couple of days.
Kudos to them. So I want to kind of pair two questions. So we did get the Jacob Rodriguez. Like, is he now in play in the first round? A lot of other people are asking about Thieneman. So, like, do you think Thieneman at 12? Do you have to put Thieneman in the conversation at 12 now because you're not going to get him at 20? And then is Jacob Rodriguez in the conversation at 20? I thought it was fascinating because I have been a team, like, I'd take Rodriguez at 20. I thought that the rest of the league was going to be like, that's way too rich. I thought he'd test well. All these guys, they tested better than I even expected, right? So now you've got teams that are just oohing and awing. And Jacob Rodriguez, to me, is a guy that in the meetings is going to blow people away. He said he had a great meeting with Denver. He had a great meeting with Chicago. So those are obviously two other teams, and they're linebacker-needy teams. But Dan Brugler is saying he thinks the best linebacker fit for the Cowboys is Jacob Rodriguez.
Sure.
I knew I loved Dane. I didn't know I loved Dane this much. My gosh, are you kidding me?
How many first-round grades do you have on your stack right now?
I think 15.
15. Is Thieneman one of your 15?
No.
Okay. So you wouldn't consider him at 12?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Just the way it is. To me, as much as you and I love film and Aisha and Foch Lombardi, even our own Gavin Dawson, as much as everybody's trying to watch film and learn about these players, if you did not have Thieneman in your top initial 15, you wouldn't consider him at 12.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't do it.
No, you're right.
Wouldn't do it.
You're right.
And like you would consider Reese, Bain,
absolutely,
Bailey. Did you have Rodriguez in your top 15?
He's 17 for me.
Then you might not consider him at 12, but you would consider him at 20.
I'd consider him at 20. I would, because I've got him ahead of CJ Allen, and I think the Cowboys do like CJ Allen a lot, and they've obviously got his outside linebacker coach on staff, and you're hearing all the football IQ stuff with CJ Allen. I will fight people. I think Jacob Rodriguez's tape is better than CJ Allen's tape. He does more things.
I think Hill from Texas's film is better than his.
Yeah,
but it's going to be interesting to see how the coach's influence with the Georgia coach on staff.
Sure.
But listen, just be honest with yourself. We always talk about don't window dress your board.
No, you're right.
If you didn't have Thieneman in your top 15, just off tape, you shouldn't consider him at 12.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to jump him into did you have him at, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Is he okay? You have Rodriguez, like say at 17,
right?
But with Thieneman being on your board, he's more 18, 19, 20 for you, right?
Yeah. They're both top 20 players for me,
right?
But they were just outside of first
round
film grades.
There you go. Your film, your eyes told you this was what this guy was.
Yeah.
That's how you have to look at this.
No, you're right. And honestly, Avion Terrell is a player to me. I've got a first on him, and he's probably like player 13 or 14 for me.
Sure.
That might be a guy at 12. Like if you get, because the McCoy thing is starting to make me a little nervous. The last thing I want to do is
you've been on this. No. you've been on this. You've been on this. Absolutely. I think what's going to happen, like you told me, Broadus, Chris Johnson's going to run for you. Just watch. Just watch. And I'm like, okay. I'm going to tell you this. I think McCoy's going to run for you.
Okay.
I think McCoy's going to run for you. I think we're going to be able to watch a YouTube clip or 3 from him pro day at Tennessee, and maybe you'll get to see him moving around like with Terrell and Hood and these other guys. It'll make you feel better. But I could see taking Delane above him if you have concerns.
Yeah.
I wish Delane wouldn't have begged out. I wish Delane would have gone. Delane missed a really good opportunity yesterday to solidify himself as the number 1 corner on the board. He missed it. He missed it. He missed it. Either him or McCoy. Listen, there's no question. I mean, we're talking about Thieneman, like we're talking about him like Downs right now, aren't we? In a way,
I think that some of it, like the side, and to me, it was like, holy crap! The side by side with Cooper DeJean, and you got Christian Parker. I'm like, is Christian Parker going to look at Thieneman and have him even higher up than we've got him? Like maybe the Cowboys do have him as a top 12 player on their board.
They're the only ones that matter. And by the way, I learned something too about being there. I heard Will McClay, and I, you know me, I respect Will.
Yeah.
And I wish I had the balls to say this back to him. But when he started talking about we laughing at your mock drafts and the things you like to do, I should have said, yeah, we were kind of laughing at your draft picks in the last few years as well.
I'm sure he'd have taken that really well. I'm sure.
That might have ended the interview, but I should have looked at him and said, Will, we're kind of laughing at your draft picks you've had the last few years. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. We're Taco Charlton one. We're ha ha ha.
Ooh, that's good.
Tristan Hill, ha ha ha. Junior Fajoko, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
I wish I was quick-witted. Yeah, he needs to get back on that horse.
Yeah, I mean,
he needs to get back on that horse.
I'm with you, man. I've been a Will McClay defender. I don't think this team is.
I like Will
without Will, but I did find it
really
interesting. Like, why are you paying as much attention to what the media is saying? Like, let's have crotch first confidence what you're doing.
Let me tell you this.
What we're doing.
Let me tell you this. There were times I was sitting there with the Dallas Cowboys or any other place I've been, and everybody's bitching about what the media is saying, and I would go, they're right, don't you? And they're like, yeah, what, bro? They're right. They're right. They're not right all the time, but they're right about this one.
There's occasions, yeah.
We all we're all in that little bubble thinking that we have all the answers when really we don't.
No, I think that there's a lot of things that we are so dead wrong on, and Will's right. We don't know what they're looking for and what they want, but there are times where,
that's why I asked the question of Christian. That's why I asked Christian Parker to describe his defense to us. Walk me through
that back and forth was so good. That you guys
I just wanted him to explain because I think it kind of gives us an idea what he might be looking at, what he might be looking. By the way, if you're a dumb player, you're not going to be playing. I mean, dumb football IQ dumb. You ain't playing for the Dallas Cowboys. Not with this defensive coordinator. I tell you what, another one. I thought my best question to him, by the way, as we kind of wrap this thing up,
right?
I thought my best question to him was, does he feel like he's got the future defensive coordinator on this staff?
Yeah. And without hesitation, he was like, yeah, we got a couple guys.
Yeah. That made me feel a lot better because Christian Parker's going to get a job. He's so prepared. I mean, it reminds me very much of Andy Reid, the note-taking and the being prepared and having a plan and who he's worked with and seen it done the right way and, been to a Super Bowl, got all that stuff done. He's going to be a head coach. The thing we need to worry about is the next Christian Parker on this team. God, hope he just turns this thing completely around. But we're going to need to find the next Christian Parker. This guy's way, way too sharp.
Maybe it's SMU guy. Maybe it's Scott Simons.
We'll see. We'll see.
We will see. Oh, last thing. Can we kind of put down in pen maybe that Nakobe Dean's going to be a Dallas Cowboy?
Yeah, I talked to Clarence Hill for a long time. Clarence was sitting behind me when we were on our show. And I asked Clarence, I said, hey, you dart throwing on this Nakobe Dean thing? He says, no. He goes, I was hearing and seeing with my own eyes some stuff. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
All right, I got you covered, bro. So
And
if
we've
you're
been connecting those dots, and now we kind of got
Clarence
confirmation.
has got this thing pretty wired. So yeah.
Yeah, I would. In the Garofalo report, that Dean's probably not going to be back in Philly. He's going to test the market. Dallas just makes a ton of sense there. It really does.
It sounds like that's where it's going to start. Now, hopefully, the young man can stay healthy.
That's the big question mark.
That's a big question mark for sure.
No doubt.
For sure.
No doubt.
For sure.
All right. Sorry we didn't get to more of your questions, but the majority of them, it was the Thieneman at 12, Rodriguez at 20 conversation. We'll circle back. We'll get to some more of those on the next episode of Love of the Star. Thank you so much. Make sure you're listening to us on the G-Bag Nation 2 to 7 Central on the Odyssey app. On 105.3 The Fan. Also check out The Stat, Crown Global Media with myself, Brian, and Aisha Morrison. Doing all right with Brian and Voch on Crown Global Media as well. Always just trying to pump out the best content for you. We love you so much. Thank you so much for making Love of the Star a part of your day, no matter how you're consuming the content. We wouldn't be doing this without you. Hugs and hand pounds, everybody. Until next time.